There's concerns of a shortage of the minerals needed for especially batteries and other components for electric vehicles. What's being done to ensure regulatory and supply chain certainty for companies looking to bring those type of products to market?
Well, what is going on is not so much a shortage of those critical minerals like lithium and rare earth elements around the world as a domination by certain suppliers, in this case China, of things that are essential not just for our economies but for the future of our economies as well all around the world. And that understanding, following Russia's invasion of Ukraine, following the supply chain disruptions and challenges around China of the past pandemic, has meant that there has been an awakening to allies in Europe and the United States and around the world that Canada can and must be an extraordinarily reliable supplier of high-quality ingredients in the economy of tomorrow. That's why we're here today, to highlight that Canadian workers and Canadian investors have created this opportunity for Canada to be the reliable supplier that the world is going to need as we move towards net zero. So it's not just about buying from a reliable ally. It's about knowing that what happens here, the processes, the extraction and processing of essential ingredients in our economies of the future is happening by workers who get paid well, where health and safety concerns are top of mind, where environmental consequences are thought through and minimized, where partnerships with Indigenous peoples aren't just an add-on at the end, but integrated entirely in our way of doing things. That's something that the world is looking to now, particularly compared with labor practices and environmental consequences of similar plants elsewhere around the world. It's about becoming that reliable supplier the world needs, and Canada has the critical minerals, the rare earth elements needed by the world. What we've been doing over these past couple of years is building up that reliability and that infrastructure in the ecosystem that's going to be able to deliver on the increasing demand for this around the world. Canada is going to be an essential player in the world, and we're not interested in just shipping ore overseas to be processed and value added and turned into batteries. As this plant gets up running, we're hoping to see more and more of the end product from this plant land in a manufacturing plant somewhere else in the country that's assembling batteries. And then those batteries get put into a car that then gets sold here in Canada. And moving up the supply chain, because Canada is incredibly blessed not just to have natural resources that are the envy and necessary for the world, but an incredibly ambitious and skilled and hardworking workforce that is going to ensure that we can get the maximum benefit for all of our communities and for our economy out of what we're doing here. It's a shift. You know, for a number of years, people have been talking about, okay, you know, Canada's got to switch towards the knowledge economy. Yes, we do. But the knowledge economy will always be here in Canada, built on the incredible natural resources we have, the innovation that goes into processing these in responsible ways, in effective, efficient ways that add to the well-being of communities around the world. These are the kinds of things that Canada has an incredible advantage in. And that's where we're going to continue to step up as we increasingly see people around the world looking to the provenance and to the way their products are made and how they're sourced. A few months ago, I made an announcement around a steel plant in Hamilton, where if you look at the global demand for steel, it's pretty much flatlined these past years. But if you look at the global demand for green steel, steel that's produced more environmentally responsibly, it's going through the roof. So where we'd made an investment that was going to land a green steel factory in 2028, I was there a few months ago, they said, no, we're going to do it by 2026. But the biggest impact of that wasn't actually in the head office and the international investors. It was in talking to the steel workers in Hamilton, who said to me, proudly, I'm a second generation, I'm a third generation steelworker here in Hamilton. And because of this announcement you're making today, for cleaner processes, for more environmentally sustainable things, I know there's going to be a seventh and an eighth generation of steelworker in Hamilton. Same thing for mining families and mining companies in Saskatoon and across the prairies and across the north. Because of what we're building in sustainable, responsible ways, in terms of developing the resources that the world is going to need as we move through the 21st century, we're securing good jobs in mining, in heavy industry, in chemical and mechanical processes. This is where we're going to build strong communities for the future. Not just going to happen in office towers in downtown Calgary or Regina or Toronto. It's going to happen in communities across the province, across the country, with good jobs being part of this transformation of Canada into the reliable supplier the world needs for its future. That's why we're excited to be here today. Merci beaucoup tout le monde. Thank you all.
Jonathan Perez, Sask today. Was it discussed how the environmental impact from mining to processing the rare earth metals?
Very much. It was one of the biggest questions I had for John, how it's done every step of the way. What actually is happening in this process is the mine up in the Northwest Territories does an initial processing, but there are no tailings ponds and no significant amounts of waste up at the mine. Much of that is brought down here to Saskatoon. That was chosen partially because there is such a strong ecosystem of supports for the mining industry here. So there are highly professional waste disposal services that are going to be able to ensure that the environmental impacts of this type of mining and the processing of these essential rare earth elements is done in an environmentally responsible way as much as possible, and certainly among the best in the world. There have been real concerns over the years that critical minerals or rare earth elements developed and processed in other parts of the world don't hit the kinds of environmental standards and protection of nature that I think Canadians would expect, but I mean people around the world will expect. So environmental responsibility is top of mind. One of the things that we've consistently heard, whether I'm talking to companies like Volkswagen or big American companies looking to invest in Canada, they want to know that the processes are as green as possible. That means clean energy going in. Canada is already about 80% renewable energy in its mix, so we're very, very good on that. There's still a little more work to do, and we're going to continue to work on that. But knowing that the energy used in these places is green, that the processes are clean, and that the final product is good for consumers, but also good for the planet. I know that's something that is shared by all the workers here in their preoccupations of making sure they're leaving a good world with good jobs for their kids, but also protected environment, and that's where Canada can and will continue to lead.